The Irish artist James Barry was born in Cork in 1741. After 5.5 years of study on the continent, primarily in Rome, he began work on the murals we see around these walls in 1777 at age 35. He took 7 years, completing them in 1784. But up until his death in 1806, he was to continue to introduce changes both to the paintings and the prints after them. In terms of the Society of Art's patronage, as far as I am aware, this is the first time in the history of art that the owner of an important venue gave an artist complete control over his or her subject matter. In order to secure this extraordinary, indeed unprecedented concession, Barry offered to paint the murals for very little compensation. The Society paid only for the canvases, the oil paints, and the artist's use of models. What was the subject matter that was so important to Barry that he received at great personal sacrifice complete freedom in implementing his own vision? His murals, which he entitled A Series of Pictures on Human Culture, form an almost continuous band, 11 feet 10 inches high, around the walls of the great room. The first 3 paintings depict the progress of Greek civilization, opening with Orpheus, over here, instructing his primitive companions on how to lift themselves out of barbarism. The second mural shows a later agrarian stage of civilization with the Greeks in a pastoral setting celebrating a harvest thanksgiving. These 2 pictures on the west side wall are 15 feet wide, and they prepare the viewer for the grand climax of Greek civilization in a painting showing the victors at Olympia that extends along the entirety of the north wall for almost 42 feet. The east side wall features 2 canvases that focus on aspects of contemporary England. The first is an allegorical composition celebrating Britain's global commercial expansion, whereas the second features, in an idealized setting, the society's awarding of its prizes. Another almost 42-foot mural, stretching across the south wall, closes the series with depictions of the elect in Elysium and the damned in Tartarus. The artist fills Elysium with portraits of specific individuals, although he only depicts generalized vices in the much smaller portion of the picture reserved for hell. To help his audience negotiate his rich and complex narrative, Barry wrote a 221-page book describing its content. But when all is said and done, viewers often have been perplexed by the artist's intent. If truth be told, the subject matter seems disjointed and idiosyncratic in the extreme. For 230 years, the artist has been praised by some, including me, for the heroic nature of the attempt, and damned by others for the irrelevant nature of his content, which is perceived to be lacking in conceptual rigor. On a personal note, from the very first time I saw these paintings, I felt in my bones that there was far more here than meets the eye. With this in mind, we should turn again to listen more carefully to what the artist had to say in his book that he prepared for the exhibition of his work. This is that 221-page description. Barry insisted that the murals addressed to the mind is intended to be difficult and thought-provoking. Quote, "It is an absurdity to suppose, as some mechanical artists do, that the art ought to be so trite, so brought down to the understanding of the vulgar, that they who run may read. When the art is solely leveled to the immediate comprehension of the ignorant, the intelligent can find nothing in it, and there will be nothing to improve or to reward the attention even of the ignorant themselves upon a second or third view." In this declamation, the artist's paraphrasing of an Old Testament prophet is revealing. Habakkuk quotes God as telling him, "Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it." In his murals, Barry, a modern prophet, has written his vision for all to see, but significantly, when he paraphrases Habakkuk, It is to reverse the prophet's meaning. He purposely stands the tradition on its head, arguing for complexity over simplicity. Barry is wedded to a well-established tradition that is the polar opposite of Habakkuk's view. Christ himself stands at the head of this tradition. When the disciples asked Jesus why his meaning was not readily apparent, he replied, "Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand." In pursuing this ancient hermeneutical tradition, Barry is following in Christ's footsteps as well as those of the biblical prophets and the Greek writers and philosophers. Although difficult to discern, there is in these murals a majestic, overarching vision, albeit one that is extremely difficult to uncover, the artist having taken pains to conceal his message, in part because his meaning would have proven intolerable to his patron. The artist was always torn between the desire to reveal his message and the need to conceal it. He relied on the signs and symbols of traditional iconography to lead the attentive viewer to a new understanding.